wherever you download your favorite podcasts from the Ohio News Network. The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, happy Thursday. We are off and rolling here. Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. It's the Justin Kinner Show. 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. You could text or call. We're also live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, so make sure you're following and subscribing along. Talk some Reds baseball today. We haven't touched on the Reds too much in a minute, but I figured with Reds Fest coming up, speaking of Reds Fest at the Cincinnati Convention Center, I have Reds Fest 2-day passes. Reds Fest going to be January 16th and 17th at the Cincinnati Convention Center. We got 2-day passes next Friday from 3 to 10:30 and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6:30. In fact, we're going to be live at Reds Fest for a special Saturday edition of the show from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. next Saturday. And we got some passes, so you guys can come along, of course. All you got to do, if you want a chance to win some 2-day passes to Reds Fest, text Reds Fest to 937-518-1410. All right, we're going to talk Reds to open up. We're going to get into some Buckeyes coming up around the corner. I've ignored them as well. And then every day I feel like I'm done with the Browns head coaching conversation, but the bottom line is more names keep getting added to the pool. One of the most recent names, of course, Mike McDaniel. That was announced earlier today as the Dolphins have officially moved on from Mike McDaniel. So we'll talk about that more coming up later on. How realistic is it that the Browns make him their next head coach? You got John Harbaugh out there. I told you I like Mike McCarthy. All right, the list goes on and on, but the list keeps getting added to, and we'll talk about that more. And I don't think the list is done being added to it. I think after this weekend's wild card round of playoffs, I think more names could be added to that list. So we'll get to all of that coming up. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, so I think we look. There's not many things that we all agree on this show that I think we universally agree on. I think we can all universally agree that the Reds offseason has been very underwhelming. If, like me, when you started to see the talent that was emerging through the system, okay, when you started to see the Matt McClains and the Ellie De La Cruzes, the Spencer Steers, the Sal Stewarts, and that's just the position players. We're not even talking about, the pitching that's just been pieced together. I mean, the Reds have a legitimate shot within the next year to have a complete, legitimate, homegrown rotation. It's one thing to have 5 guys in your rotation that, have come up through your system. It doesn't mean that they're good. The Reds have a legit shot, outside of Brady Singer, to have a complete homegrown rotation. You don't see that in baseball often, and for the Reds to do that, it's pretty remarkable. It's tough to get pitching, and the Reds have built a full rotation nonetheless. So, as that started to be put together over the years, I started to, everyone started to really buy into the situation that the Reds have found themselves in. And if you remember years and years ago, whenever they drafted Hunter Green, that was a big deal because it wasn't just that they drafted Hunter Green, it's that they had to spend a lot of money to get the services of Hunter Green. And then, of course, you started to get Nick Lodolo. Andrew Abbott wasn't a name that we were excited about until we actually saw him blossom in the main roster. And the guy's been unbelievable. Chase Burns last year, Reds' number 1 pitching prospect, number 1 prospect overall, gets called up and has electric stuff. He had 4 games last year of 10 strikeouts or more. 4 straight games of 10 or more strikeouts. So, it is what it is as far as that's concerned. There's just so many bright spots all over the place. That's just the pitching. Now, on the other side, you start to see Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain, and you saw that breakout year a few years ago. It set up what we thought last year was going to be a magical year. Now, they made the playoffs, so it's kind of hard to say it wasn't a successful season, but it still was a lot. There was a lot to be desired for still. And then, on top of all that, they go out and they get they get Terry Francona. What's the purpose? That's the big question I have asked for a while now. What was the purpose of going to get Terry Francona to be your manager if you were still going to operate as if David Bell was your manager? You know what I mean? And that's the thing too. That would be like if the Cincinnati Bengals got aggressive and they fired Zach Taylor and they go get John Harbaugh to be their head coach, but then they don't spend hardly any money in free agency. they whiff on pretty much every draft pick. I would be asking the same question. What was the purpose of going to get a John Harbaugh if you were still going to operate as if you're being led by Zach Taylor? That's how I view this situation with the Reds. Why go get a Terry Francona if you're still going to continue to operate as if you are being led by David Bell? That's the problem I have with the Cincinnati Reds right now, because I was adamant that the Reds are about to turn the corner. I don't think that the Reds were going to be all of a sudden this big market spending team moving forward, but I thought that they would capitalize on this potential lightning in a bottle run that they're on when you have an Elly De La Cruz, when you have a Hunter Green and a Nick Lodolo and an Andrew Abbott and a Chase Burns and a Sal Stewart now, who I think is going to be big time. So you have all of these young emerging pieces on this roster. Why would you not go all out to get a Kyle Schwarber? Why would you not go all out to go get the big name free agents? Once again, they started, dabbling in the pool of big trades here, big trades there. The Reds didn't do a dang thing. Now there's still time. But with the news that came out today that the Reds are most likely going to part ways with FanDuel TV and just basically let Major League Baseball take over their broadcasts, that's going to be a significant loss of revenue right off the bat, because it was more money there was more money coming in when they partnered with FanDuel TV than it would have been to, of course, relinquish that and go and have MLB run everything. Now, MLB is a better product. I think we're going to enjoy watching the games on there more than watching it on FanDuel TV. But the bottom line is it impacts us as fans, because now it gives them another excuse to not be aggressive in the offseason. But as we all know, the purpose of what you always hope in an offseason is will your team go out and improve the roster to make sure that they're better heading into the next season than what they were previously. And the big question I have when it comes to the Reds is, as we sit here today, are the Reds better today than last season? Did the Reds go out and make enough changes this offseason to make them better than a year ago? That's what I want to know. 937-518-1410. All right, I'm curious your guys' thoughts on the matter. Do you believe that the Reds have done enough to better themselves as we currently sit here right now? Because that's the thing. Like, that's what you hope for every offseason. Like this offseason for the Cincinnati Bengals, you hope that the Bengals are going to make enough moves to improve so that when you head into next season, you feel like, man, 3 straight years of no playoffs, but I do feel like we are better than what we were last year. That's what you're hoping. I'm a Browns fan. I'm really hoping that when week 1 next September kicks off, that at kickoff, the unit that's out on that field is significantly better than the unit that closed out the 2025 campaign. When the Reds season ended in the playoffs, that's where you want it to end, is in the playoffs, of course. You want it to technically end in late October. You want it to end hoisting up that big hunk of metal, as Rob Manfred referred to it as. But the bottom line is you want to play as deep into the season as possible. But it had been so long since the Reds had actually made the playoffs in a for-real season, not a COVID-shortened season, that I would have taken any kind of playoff appearance. And we got any kind of playoff appearance. It was the most Reds playoff appearance ever. They didn't truly grab that playoff opportunity and strangle it grab it by the throat. They kind of backdoored their way in. They needed to win the final game of the regular season, game 162, to get into the playoff. Or if they lost, they had to count on a Mets loss. The Mets lose, they lost, and they made the playoff. They celebrated with champagne after a loss. It was the most Reds thing ever. It just felt weird. Like it was like, man, they're in the playoff. But it was coming off of a loss, and it didn't give you any momentum, because it's like, if you win, you're in. If you win, you advance, and you lost. The Mets lost. Now you're in. Now you want me to feel good again about another opportunity where if you lose, you're going home, and that's exactly what happened. Now, they did go up against a team that spends slightly more than they do in the Dodgers. But the Reds were an 83-win team last season. Okay, they struggled producing runs. And what would happen is statistically, you would see that they were actually one of the better run-producing teams in baseball. You would see that they would average about, 3.5 runs per game. And you think, oh, man, the Reds are, they're one of the best run-producing average teams in baseball. The problem is they would have about one every 5 or 6 games where they'd put up 8, 9, 10 runs, right? And then they would have they would have a stretch of games where they'd go 2 runs, 1 run, no runs. Remember, they got shut out for X amount of games straight last year? That's what the Reds did. They would have one game where they would explode offensively and put up 8, 9, 10 runs, and then they would follow up the next 2 or 3 games with 1 or 2 runs, and then water would find its level, and it would average out okay. but the numbers weren't telling the true story. The fans that I would accuse of being negative, which I was wrong for, I was accusing you of being negative because I'm looking at the numbers. You're watching the game. Now I'm watching the games too. But the point is I'm like, how can you say this team's not a good run producing team? They're actually top 10 in runs produced per game. You fans are smarter than that. You watch the games. You may turn it off by the fifth inning because it's hard to watch, but you watch most of these games. You know how it goes. So it's been an interesting offseason because I do not feel like they attacked the offseason with enough urgency, considering you have Terry Francona, a Hall of Fame manager, as your head coach, as your manager. I mean, considering you have a generational talent in Ellie De La Cruz, considering you have basically a homegrown rotation with phenomenal arms. I mean, Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. And as I've told you, I keep saying this, Andrew Abbott was the best pitcher last year. The Reds' best pitcher last year was not Hunter Green. It was Andrew Abbott. And Hunter Green was pretty damn good. Nick Lodolo was very solid. Chase Burns has phenomenal stuff. Andrew Abbott was the Reds' best pitcher last year and very well might be the Reds' best pitcher this year, but we all know the marquee of that rotation is Hunter Green, and Hunter Green should be the best pitcher. And if it's Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott battling it out for who the best pitcher is, that's only a good thing. I love the rotation. I love the pitching for the Reds. The Reds are going to have a chance this year the way they had a chance last year because of said rotation. But did they do enough? So coming into this season, here's the players that the Reds lost. Okay? They declined options on the players Austin Hayes, Brent Suter, and Scott Barlow. No major losses there. I like Austin Hayes. I thought that was a good pickup last year. And here's the problem. When the Reds get a player like Austin Hayes or a player at the deadline last year like a Miguel Andujar, those are very good players to pick up. The problem is we always our bar is set too high. It's sad that we have to have our bar, it's sad that we have to be told that our bar is set too high. But the reality is based on how the Reds operate, we always set our bar at the Kyle Schwarbers. We always end up with the Austin Hayes or the Miguel Andujars. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Austin Hayes and the Miguel Andujars, but hey, we got to, we go get a Kyle Schwarber and we're going to bring Austin Hayes back. I love that. But you always end up getting just an Austin Hayes or a Miguel Andujar at the deadline instead of that impact bat. And Miguel Andujar made an impact last year. There's no doubt about it. But they let Miguel Andujar walk. Zach Littell, they let go. Nick Martinez, who they spent $22.5 million on last year, they let him go. The lefty, Wade Miley, that was just a pickup that they were hoping to maybe, see if there's anything left there. But, very good lefty over the years, was very good for the Reds in his first stint years ago. There was nothing special there. And, Ian Jabot, Santiago Espinal, who Terry Francona absolutely loved. I'm glad the Reds moved on from. So here's who the Reds have added. So that's who the Reds let go. As far as who the Reds re-signed from last year, obviously they did pick up the option. This one was a little bit surprising because we knew the Reds had about $20 million to work with this year. They spent 10 of that on one player, and that was Emilio Pagan, who I thought was as good as gone. Emilio Pagan was phenomenal last year. I thought that there was no way he was going to be a Red, but, with limited resources, I think it's hard to even get excited about the return of Emilio Pagan because you only have $20 million to spend and you spent half of it on one player. That's a tough pill to swallow, but that's because the Reds are desperate to have some kind of weapon in that bullpen. So they also did re-sign Sam Maul at about $850,000, but it was a 2-year, $20 million. It's technically a 2-year, $20 million deal for Emilio Pagan with the option for year 2. So it's about a $20 million deal. So they let Austin Hayes, Brent Suter, Scott Barlow go. All right. They let Miguel Andujar, Zach Littell, Nick Martinez, Santiago Espinal. They let those guys walk. They re-signed Emilio Pagan. They bring back Sam Maul. But then the additions, right? So we knew that they needed a big power bat in the outfield. They didn't get it. We knew they needed help in the bullpen. Didn't really, I'm glad they, Emilio Pagan, they go and they got Caleb Ferguson, a 1 year, $4.5 million deal. I like Caleb Ferguson, especially because of the fact that you have that lefty now to come out of the bullpen. Having that lefty come out of the bullpen is massive. All right. JJ Bleday, again, the outfielder, 1 year, $1.5 million deal. They acquired in a trade. They get Dane Myers. They claimed, I'm not Ben, Rortevet. I don't even know how to pronounce it. That's how much of a little of a impact I think he's going to make it. I don't care about that name, to be honest with you. That's where we're at. That's a very underwhelming list of changes and additions in offseason activity for your Reds. It's hard for me to be excited about it. It really is. And the problem is I feel like we fall into this trap of we're focused more on, and I'm doing it right now, and I'm telling you I'm wrong of it. We collectively as Reds fans are doing a bad job because what we are doing is we are spending more time on focusing who's not on this roster instead of who is. But I think it's because it's basically who is on this roster was on this roster last year, and they barely made the playoffs. Barely made the playoffs. Let's pick up with this. 937-518-1410. Call or text into the show your thoughts on the Reds. You see the question up for those watching on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. Are the Reds better than last season? That's the question. 937-518-1410. Do you feel like this team is better heading into this upcoming season than what they were coming out of last season? 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. All right, the NCAA First Four returns to the epicenter of college hoops. The fun begins Selection Sunday, March 15th, with 2 family-friendly events. Join the big hoopla for the 4-miler race, then bring the family to the free STEM challenge, both conveniently located at Wright State University. It all leads to the NCAA First Four at UD Arena, March 17th and 18th. The First Four, Dayton, and the big hoopla. More details at DaytonHoopla.com. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Logan Fury did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he bought a mini treadmill. Is walking on it during video conference calls more distracting than he thought? Yes. And is that because he overestimated his foot-eye coordination? Definitely. But it's Logan's savings, and if he wants to burn calories and any chance at a promotion, we say, good for you, Logan. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
They didn't have skim milk for your coffee, so I just got formaldehyde.
Oh, isn't that stuff in floor cleaner?
Pizza's here. Would you like cheese on that? Or how about a Crowley?
Oh, no, that's a bug spray.
Hi there. Would you like to sample our new scent, diethylene glycol?
Isn't that the stuff in antifreeze?
You wouldn't want to eat it, drink it, or even smell it, but that's exactly what's in your vapes. If you vape, quit. If you don't vape, don't start. For help, go to odh.ohio.gov/no vapes. A message from the Ohio Department of Health.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-444-2013. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-2013. That's 800-444-2013. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. 800-444-2013.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. The Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Reds Fest coming up a week from Friday and Saturday, January 16th and 17th, live at the Cincinnati Convention Center. And that's where we're going to be. I'm going to be doing my show on Saturday on the 17th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll have, of course, Terry Francona, various Reds players, front office personnel, and Reds on Radio crew. So that's coming up a week from this Saturday. We have Reds Fest passes. If you're interested in winning some of these two-day passes for next weekend, text Reds Fest to 937-518-1410. There you go. That's the number to text. Anything that we're talking about on the show, or you just want to reach out to the show, you could text that number as well. Ron Howard texted out about the Cincinnati Reds, saying that the Francona move was to sell tickets. There's no plan in place. Remember who owns the team, Dollar Tree. There you go. Ron, hope you're doing well. I think he said he's currently in North Carolina right now. Ron listening from North Carolina. Appreciate you, Ron. Appreciate the message. You can also message into the show, 937-518-1410. We'll get to your calls coming up here in just a moment. All right, so if you missed it to open up, we opened up with Reds talk. We haven't talked about the Reds in a minute. Obviously, it's the NFL playoffs kicking off season for the Browns and Bengals, and it's a big off season for both of those teams. We're going to talk more off season for both of those coming up in a moment, because the Ravens losing Harbaugh impacted a lot of teams, including the Bengals, and we'll talk about how that is when we come back, or not when we come back, but here in a little bit. But the Reds, okay, anytime you head into an off season, you hope that your team is going to do whatever they can to make sure that the roster heading into the next season is better than what it was to close out the previous season. And I started looking at things. I'm like, the Reds, they didn't have a sexy off season, but what off season did they have? And I started looking at it. I'm like, did they have one? I mean, say what you want about what the Reds did last off season, and it wasn't that impactful, but I tell you what, it was impactful. They at least went out and they got Terry Francona. I thought that was a massive get. And I love Terry Francona, by the way. He's an old school baseball guy, and the Reds are very fortunate that he was goofy enough to pick them to come back. Okay. I love having Terry Francona as the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And we're very fortunate that that's the case. But that was a massive get. The problem is we're falling into this trap of every time we get something really good, we are not fully enjoying it because of what the Reds hesitate or just don't do at all around that. As I've stated before, what was the purpose of getting a Terry Francona to continue to operate as if you're being led by David Bell? And it's one of those scary things, and I've said this about the Bengals before, about the Bengals, okay? I've said this about the Cincinnati Bengals in the past, that if you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you've been to a Super Bowl, back-to-back AFC championship games, if that success that you had right there, if the fact that you have those three on your roster right now, if those three cannot get that front office of the Bengals to change their way of thinking and operating, that's a very scary thing to, for Bengals fans, because guys, if Joe Burrow can't get them to change their ways, I don't think there's anything that can happen out there that would get them to change their ways. You're screwed. Because it's one thing if you have Andy Dalton as your quarterback and you don't want to go all out to change how you operate. Man, we got to take advantage of this Andy Dalton window. No. I don't, I never expected the Bengals to truly appreciate the Andy Dalton era, to say, man, we got to do everything we can to get the most out of the Andy Dalton era. But you would like to think that when you do stumble upon a player like a Joe Burrow, that you would want to do everything in your power to maximize that. And what you guys are experiencing is the fear of, my gosh, if Joe Burrow cannot get this team to operate differently, we're screwed as fans, because they will never change their way of operating and decision-making moving forward. And that's kind of how I feel about this Reds team right now. I'm a little concerned because I truly thought that by going to get Terry Francona a year ago, that they wouldn't do that unless they planned on operating. You don't go get the best manager in baseball. You don't go get a Hall of Fame manager just to continue operating as if you're being run by David Bell. If Terry Francona can't get the Castellinis and Nick Krall to operate differently, if having a generational talent, at least that's what they say on the streets with Elly De La Cruz, if having an Elly De La Cruz doesn't get this team's attention to try to maximize the window of time that you have left with him, if having a fully homegrown rotation, which is so rare, not just to have a fully homegrown rotation, but a top 10 rotation in baseball that you fully developed, if that rotation, if Elly De La Cruz, if Terry Francona, if those three elements all together, like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, if those three elements, when you combine them all together, can't get the front office to operate differently, we are screwed as Reds fans. That's what concerns me, is because I have always been semi-patient with the Castellinis, say, well, how come they don't do this? Do you realize how many holes are on this roster? You know how much money they would have to spend to fix all those holes on the roster? That's the thing about this right now. You have a young, financially controllable rotation that you don't have to put any money into right now. You have Elly De La Cruz, who is such a high-impact, valuable young piece that you don't have to put any money into. You have Sal Stewart, who you're expecting big things. Hopefully Matt McClain takes a step forward. Hopefully Spencer Steer, who they did get, they took care of the arbitration deal today. So they're going to have him, they have Gavin Lux coming back. You have these young, impactful pieces that you're not spending a whole lot of money on. You're not spending a whole lot of money on that rotation. The fact that we were begging them to pay for Kyle Schwarber is just mind-boggling to me, because you should be able to afford Kyle Schwarber. You're not paying Elly De La Cruz. You're not really paying any heavy dimes for that rotation. The most expensive asset that you had was Nick Martinez, and he's no longer here. And I get it. There was a lot of players who got raises from a season ago due to their arbitration raises. I get that. But again, when is the next time that the Reds organization is going to have a top 10 rotation in baseball that they're not spending a dime on? When is the next time that they're going to have a top 10 rotation that is led by a Cy Young caliber pitcher and Hunter Green that they're only spending about $6 million a year on? When is the next time that they're going to have a generational talent like an Elly De La Cruz? Although he shouldn't be at shortstop, he should be in the outfield, but that's a conversation for another day. When's the next time you're going to have that? When's the next time you're going to have all of that combined with the best manager in baseball, a Hall of Fame manager, one of the most likable managers in all of baseball, and Terry Francona? When is the next time you're going to have that? That's why this team should be acting with more urgency, and the fact that they are not scares me. It worries me, and it should worry you. Because like I said about the Bengals, if Joe Burrow, T, and Jamar can't get that front office to change their ways, if Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Green and this rotation and Terry Francona, if they can't get this Reds front office to change their ways, then why should Bengals fans have any hope moving forward, and why should we as Reds fans have any hope moving forward? Because I get it. What's going to happen is in 5 years, we're going to look at a broken down roster and say, man, I would kill for that top 10 rotation in baseball. Man, I would kill for Elly De La Cruz to be back on this roster. Man, I would kill for Terry Francona to be the manager of this team. We're going to appreciate what the Reds have right now 5 or 6 years from now. We're not going to enjoy it right now. And it's tough, We are not going to enjoy what the Reds have on this roster right now because of what they're not putting with it. But when the Reds take major steps backwards in the next 5 years, when they have to trade away Elly, when they can't afford to pay Sal Stewart and Matt McClain and Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo and Chase Burns, we're going to sit back and say, man, I wish that we had that roster again, which is so sad. That's kind of weird, right? Very weird. Nonetheless. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. To the text line we go. Deb, I hope you're doing well. Deb, she texts into the show. She says she loves the Reds, but unfortunately ownership is pretty much as sorry as the Bengals, trying to get as cheap, trying to build as cheaply as possible. Should have got Schwarber, no question. Instead, they get another team hand-me-down like Blade, and it's just sad. And I think I'm saying his name wrong. If I'm not, I'm saying it like a bidet. I have no clue what the hell his name is, but you know what? Should we know what his name is? I don't know. 937-518-1410. By the way, I'm doing a horrible job getting you guys psyched up for Reds Fest. I'm telling you why why we should all be concerned. Why we should all why you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm doing the absolute worst job possible getting you guys hyped up for Reds Fest next weekend. But like I said, say what you want. I'll never try to overhype something that I don't think should be overhyped. But at times I do have to remind myself that we cannot fall into the trap of not investing into this group. Okay. The way that, from an interest standpoint, I fear that we're going to look back. We're not enjoying Terry Francona. We're not enjoying Ellie De La Cruz. We're not enjoying Hunter Green and company. I hate that we're not enjoying these things. I hate that we're not enjoying these things because of what's not here instead of paying attention to what is. And that's on me. That's on you. That's on all of us. We got to do a better job with that. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I know I have a couple of you on hold. I'm going to get to your calls right away as we wrap up the Reds conversation on the other side. If you want to go to Reds Fest, though, I do have 2-day passes for you. 937-518-1410. Text Reds Fest, and you'll be entered into a text contest. If you are one of the winners that we select, instructions on how you can come pick up your 2-day passes will be sent directly to you. So keep an eye out for that. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Gradual breakers. You keep your eyes on the road, so you've seen it all. As long as it all happened directly in front of you, like a Swedish masseuse, your foot knows exactly the right amount of pressure to apply to the brake. That's why your passengers feel totally relaxed with you behind the wheel and occasionally super sleepy. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out like little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enid. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring facilities industrial electricians. Do you have this specialized skill? This person must have a 2-year electrical degree or journeyman electrician card, knowledge in industrial electrical equipment, great communication skills, willing to work overtime, weekends, and shutdowns as needed. HVAC or plumbing experience is a plus. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. Apply today and be valued by a company that sincerely cares about you. Apply online at KTH.com. KTH.net, an equal opportunity employer. KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at KTH.net, an equal opportunity employer.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now upgrade to a Tempur-Pedic and get a $300 instant gift, plus next-day delivery. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. Next day delivery available on select mattresses and subject to location. See store for details.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner, the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel. Talking a lot of Reds to open up the show here today, this hour. I don't know it's interesting. So ESPN, they put out their midwinter power rankings for Major League Baseball, where every team stands heading into 2026. And the Cincinnati Reds come in middle of the pack, coming in at number 16. Coming in at number 16. So Cincinnati's playoff core remains intact according to this write-up from ESPN. ESPN's Jeff Passan and other ESPN insiders all contributed to this piece. And the write-up about the Reds talks about the fact that the Reds, they kept their playoff core intact. Though the team hasn't acquired a major name this offseason to push things forward, re-signing reliever Emilio Pagan was important, but pitching isn't the problem. Offense is. The Reds have more work to do in that area after, of course, their dance with Kyle Schwarber that ended very quickly. Jesse Rogers was responsible for the write-up for the Reds. Jesse Rogers has been with ESPN forever. He used to be on the ESPN beat for the Cubs. So he knows, a lot of the NL Central foes very well, and he was covering the Reds for this piece right here. So the final 2025 power ranking for the Reds, they came in at number 13. And they have them, a way too early 2026 ranking. They have them coming in at number 8. They see that the ceiling could be, around number 8, the top 10 team in baseball. And for the Reds to be a top 10 team in baseball, there's just a lot that has to go on for that to be the case. There's a lot of players that I have to take major steps forward. I know it came out last year that, Elly De La Cruz was playing with an injury for pretty much the entire season. And, there was that stretch where he went an entire month without hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and that could explain that. But Elly has never been viewed as a guy that could hit for power. Now, he did lead the team in home runs last year. But that should tell you just how bad of a home run hitting team this is when Elly De La Cruz is leading your team. That would be like if I'm on a basketball team and I'm the tallest player. Kinner's short. What do you mean he's short? He's the tallest player on his team. That doesn't mean he's tall. That means that team's really short. So Elly De La Cruz leading his team in home runs doesn't mean he's a power hitter. It means that team sucks when it comes to hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Which is why Kyle Schwarber, the fact that they lost him over $5 million per year, is such a head scratcher. At the end of the day, I promised myself I wasn't going to get angry coming back from break. But it's like I'm trying my best to try to get excited for this upcoming season. Trying my best. But man, oh man. I don't know if you guys saw this today. This came out a little bit ago, earlier this afternoon, that Major League Baseball is prepared to produce and distribute local broadcasts for teams whose telecasts are uncertain this season because of the financial problems of the FanDuel Sports Network regional networks. Now, Main Street Sports Group, which operates the networks, did not make its December payments to the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, it also carries games for the Braves, the Reds, Tigers, Royals, Angels, Marlins, Brewers, and the Rays, along with 13 teams in the NBA and 7 in the NHL. Now, the Cardinals are the one team in baseball that they have failed to make a payment towards. There are multiple teams in the NBA and NHL that have yet to get their payment as well. So no matter what happens, whether it's Main Street, a third party, or MLB Media, fans are going to have the games, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said earlier this afternoon. MLB did take over the broadcast for the Padres in May, of 2023 after Diamond Sports Group missed a payment to the team and added the Diamondbacks at July. So the Rockies, they joined MLB's distribution list in 2024, the Guardians and the Twins in 2025. I am curious if there's any Guardians fans that are listening right now. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, or you could text into the show or call 937-518-1410. How do you like that? Like, are the games produced better? Being produced and distributed through MLB. I'm curious about that because I've heard that, yes, the games look way better. They sound way better. And they just have more of a professional look and vibe to them than, of course, the regional sports network. So I am curious, Guardians fans, have you enjoyed watching your games there? Here's why I would rather continue to deal with the not as great production from FanDuel TV is because the Reds get more money. Now, I say that as if, oh, man, the Reds are doing everything they can with that money, but I feel like if the Reds move forward and are not part of FanDuel TV and are picked up by MLB, that they're going to continue to use that as an excuse as why we can't be aggressive at the deadline. We can't be aggressive a year from now in the offseason. There's also there's a potential strike looming, by the way. This is, another reason why I get really frustrated with the lack of urgency of this Reds team is because, you have an opportunity here to strike while the iron's hot, but there's a very good chance that, I think the Reds are done with Ellie after 28 and they'll have to probably trade him around 27, which would be a year from now. We probably have only 2 more years left with Ellie. Should have 3, but there's a lockout going to probably knock us out of one of those 3 years. So I don't know how that works. If you get an extra year I have no idea how that is handled, but that's where we're at right now. Rob Manfred did say that local media provides more than 20% of industry revenue. Major League Baseball and the Players Association for the 24 season allowed discretionary fund distributions of up to $15 million each to teams whose local media revenue had declined, but they did not reach a similar agreement for 2025. So he says right now, Rob Manfred says we are not providing financial assistance as we currently sit here. So this is frustrating because there was an uptick in viewership and ratings for the Reds, TV-wise last year. Nonetheless. All right, let's go to the phones. 937-518-1410. Are the Reds better right now than what they were heading into last season? Before I get to the calls, I guess I haven't answered the question myself. Are they better than a year ago? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that this team is better than a year ago. Now, again, it's early January. I want to see what this team looks like heading into camp, into spring training. You get to spring training, there's always going to be those stupid phantom injuries that, the Reds had to kind of deal with. Andrew Abbott, we didn't see him for the first month of the season, but once he got healthy and rolling, he was the Reds' best pitcher. Hunter Green has never played a season since being acquired by the Reds. And that includes his time in Dayton. That includes his time at every step along the way through the system. And every year being in Cincinnati since being called up, he has never gone a season without spending at least a month on the IL. So injuries are going to play a big role in this. But as of right now, assuming that everybody's healthy, I'm expecting big things from Sal Stewart. The lack of power that this team has, they called him up late in the season last year. And if you look at his numbers and stats, the way his numbers rolled out, he was on pace based on how he hit for the last month and some change. He was over a full 162-game season. Sal Stewart was on pace for 40-plus home runs, which would be massive. We haven't seen somebody hit that many home runs in Cincinnati since Eugenio Suarez. Eugenio Suarez, by the way, potentially available. There's that to consider. But yeah, I like Sal Stewart. I'm going to take the Reds at their word that Ellie is healthy now, and maybe that played a role in the lack of power. But I'm not really looking at Ellie for as much contribution with power as what a lot of people. I think the fact that, and this is one reason why I wanted Kyle Schwarber, is because I do feel like the injury played a role in Ellie's powers numbers declining, but I also think he's pressing at the plate because Ellie is feeling pressure at shortstop. He's feeling pressure on the base paths. He's feeling pressure with the bat in his hand. And a lot of you are saying, well, if you're about to be a guy that's paid $500 to $700 million a season, buck up. And here's why I hate that mentality from fans. Because if you look at the guys that are making a lot of money in baseball, when you look at the Mookie Betts and you look at the obviously Shohei Ohtani doesn't have to pitch for the Dodgers to win a World Series. Shohei Ohtani technically doesn't have to hit for the Dodgers to win a World Series. This is why I don't like when they put Shohei Ohtani in the MVP conversation, because he doesn't, like, if Ellie De La Cruz isn't available for the Reds, they don't have a shot. You take Shohei Ohtani off the Dodgers, they're still competing for a World Series. And by the way, this isn't me saying that Shohei's not good. That's an idiotic thing to say. But it makes my point here of when you look across the league and you look at all the players that are making a ton of money, they're on loaded rosters. Their contributions are being noticed more because they're on better teams. But are their contributions as necessary for their team to be as effective as they are as what Ellie has to be for his team? There's no Shohei Ohtani wasn't losing sleep last year. Man, I got to pitch and I got to hit. I got to make sure I'm out there. He don't care. Like that Dodgers team is so loaded. They don't need, they need Shohei, but they don't need Shohei. The Reds need Ellie De La Cruz. So what I mean by this is Ellie De La Cruz, who's also battling an injury, like Shohei battles an injury, he doesn't have to rush back. He doesn't have to do. Ellie knows for this team to win or have a chance to win, I have to be out there. And not only do I have to be out there, I have to produce. So I think some of his errors at short, I think it is a lot. It is mental. I think I think him regressing with the bat in his hand, I think it's mental. I think it's a lot of mental stuff at play here because Ellie feels like in only year 3 with the Reds that he had to be Mr. Everything. You guys could say Shohei has to be Mr. Everything for the Dodgers, but the bottom line is he doesn't. He is, but how much pressure is on Shohei really in Los Angeles? If Shohei goes a month without hitting the ball to the ballpark, do you really think that impacts the Dodgers? Do you really, I'm not saying that they don't feel it, but do you really think that it impacts it? We were just, every time Ellie made contact and that ball didn't leave the ballpark last year, we were frustrated. We're frustrated. He's frustrated. He feels our frustration. What frustration do you think Shohei feels? He doesn't feel any of that. I don't know. That's I feel like this is why it was so important for the Reds to go get a Kyle Schwarber, to go get a star player. Because if there is a player, a veteran player, an experienced player like Kyle Schwarber that's going to take care of the heavy lifting when it comes to the run, as far as run production is concerned, knocking the ball to the ballpark, that takes a little pressure off Ellie. Now Ellie can step to the plate and say, man, do I need to knock this ball? I mean, he would love to hit the ball to the ballpark, but just put the bat in play, Ellie. Just get on base. And if you don't knock it to the ballpark, that's fine. That's what Schwarber's here for. That's why I wanted Schwarber so bad, or a Suarez, or somebody that can take care of the heavy lifting in the lineup. Because then that just takes one less thing off Ellie's plate. That's one reason why I want Ellie in the outfield and not at shortstop. If you would have got Kyle Schwarber, it takes the pressure off Ellie to have to be to be the power bat in the lineup. If you move him from short to outfield, that's one less thing that he is super stressed about as far as having to make sure he's perfect at shortstop. There are things that this organization can do to protect Ellie, and they're not doing it. Didn't mean to go into that rant, but that's where we're at. Enough of me. Let's go. So my point is this team better than a year ago? Yes, I do love the addition of Ferguson. That makes this bullpen that was solid last year, and there's question marks about it, but they kept Emilio Pagan, which was key. Obviously, you're going and you're bringing back, or you go and get Ferguson. I think that's big time. So do I think that the bullpen's better? Yes. The bullpen being better makes this team better. The rotation is going to be as effective as last year. And I know I hate saying this because you guys don't want to hear it, but it does matter. I just wish it wasn't being counted on so much by the front office. Just natural maturity from this roster. As Matt McClain heads into another year, Ellie heads into another year, year 2, a full year for Sal. So I think that stuff matters. So do I think that this team is better than a year ago? Yes, I do. But it doesn't mean that the Reds should be let off the hook for their lack of urgency this offseason. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, I know you've been patient. Thanks for holding.
How you doing, man?
Another day in paradise.
So you asked the question, are the Reds better today than they were when the season ended last year? You think so? I don't see how they are.
Oh, how are they worse?
I don't, and that's why I don't really like these type of questions, because I don't really necessarily think they're worse.
Then how could they not be better? And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like,
they're the same. They're the same. I don't think that's better. I don't think that's worse. I think
but
they're
Ferguson
just
makes them better. It's just not when we think better, we think Kyle Schwarber makes them better. Ferguson makes them better. It just doesn't raise the bar as much as we'd like.
Okay.
Ferguson is a nice addition considering the strength of this team being the pitching that it is. I do think Ferguson is a hell of an addition. It's just not the flashy name we wanted, so we're not going to fall in love with it. Now, being better, Shaw, doesn't mean that I think that this team is guaranteed to make the playoffs again. Like, I don't think they should have made the playoffs last year. If the Mets were healthy, the Mets were getting that playoff spot. There's no question about it. If your Braves didn't regret, I mean, that was a big regression from your Braves last year. That shouldn't have happened either. There was a lot of things that had to go right for the Reds to still backdoor their way into the playoffs. And it doesn't mean that I'm saying that it's a playoff roster. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now.
All right. So you give me, you get the bullpen signing, but I'll give you Andujar. Losing Andujar hurts the same way as getting that guy makes it a positive.
Yeah, but getting Andujar last year, they got after the deadline. And they had him for like 1 month of the season. It didn't like tilt one way or another. I liked Andujar. I wanted the Reds to bring him back, and they still technically can. But as of right now, they have. I just think from naturally, just like Sal Stewart, a full season of Sal Stewart, that makes them better. I think this team is better. I just don't know if I'm saying that they're a playoff team. And Dan Mott, they go out and they get some of these guys like the Blade guy or whatever. A lot of people really like him. It's just not Kyle Schwarber, right? Like that's kind of where we're at right now.
I think that losing Andujar is a bigger deal than what some, and I'm not necessarily yourself, but what some are making it, because that was 340 plate appearances, 320 at bats. The man hit 318, hit 318, had 10 bombs. Like I think it was bigger at the plate than what a lot of people want to admit, because that was your DH, and it was your DH. Especially for left-handed hitting, and that team struggled with left-handed pitching as it was. I don't know. I just don't think they did enough things offensively that's going to make a big enough deal that is going to me. When you say, is the team improved, that's asking me the question: are they going to be better in the win column than they were last year? I can't say that right now. I just can't. And to me, answering that question, it's a negative. It's no. I don't see how this team, quite frankly, I don't see how this team wins 83 like they won last year. I just don't. We're hoping for a lot of things to go right in order for this team to win 83 games, just like they did last year, just like a lot of things had to go right last year.
I don't think a lot of things had to go right for them to win 83 games. I think a lot of things had to go right for them to make the playoffs, because it's not like winning 83 games was impressive last year, Shaw. It wasn't impressive.
I agree.
Like, they won a lot of series they shouldn't, but they won a lot of series that they technically shouldn't, but then they lost a lot of series that they technically shouldn't, and it kind of washed out a bit. Like, they beat the good teams that they did, but then it was hard to get excited about it because of the series that they would lose around it. So no, I'm with. I don't look at the 83 wins as impressive, to be honest with you. So that's why I don't think that they're worse than that. That's why I think they're about the same as far as expectation wise, but I do believe that they've improved in certain areas that are going to help them. Hopefully not. And then some of the stuff like the losses last year that they had, that wasn't lack of talent here. That was just a weak mentality heading into some of those series that I thought were David Bell issues, but obviously Terry Francona had issues with getting this team fired up to play sometimes.
I mean, where I will meet you halfway, and it could get me to sway, is if the actual switch of moving Marte out to right field, if that holds this offseason and he improved, especially in the outfield. So now the mental side of it is gone from him. I mean, obviously he still has to think to play. You know what I mean? The overthinking that I think he was doing. I think if he makes a huge step this offseason, I think that could be the offensive boost to maybe get this roster over the top. Now, and if that would help, going to your point before I got brought on, of taking some of the heat, especially offensively, off of Ellie, maybe his numbers improve too. It's beyond Schwarber for me. It wasn't just the fact that they didn't get him. It's the fact that they haven't went out and done anything. And I understand they brought in pieces here. They brought in some pieces there. It's just, you saved $20 million by cutting Martinez. Where are you spending that money?
That all went to all the arbitration players like that. And they finalized a bunch of arbitration players today.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys got about what they were projecting, which made up about that 10 to 15 mil in that range. They spent 10 mil alone just to go out and get, keep Pagan for this upcoming season. So that's where some of those numbers, when they were talking about last year, we're like, they're going to spend about the same as last year. Well, when you add in the fact that, $20 million, 15 to 20 mil was just going to go to retaining a lot of the guys that were arbitration eligible. TJ Friedel, they got him for $3.8 million. As far as that goes, now that's up from last year. Will Benson, they didn't use him correctly last year, but he got more than what he got last year. Gavin Lux for 5.5 mil. Spencer Steer signed for 4 mil. So that's where all that went. Now I need to look at, to be fair, Shaw, I don't think Gavin Lux is being paid $5 million for this season. I'm assuming that's 5.5 mil throughout the duration of the contract. I do need to go look at that because I might be reading this wrong, but I'm assuming this is over the duration of the contract and not 5.5 mil to Gavin Lux alone in 2026. So
yeah, it's to what the thing
I think it's duration, right?
It says, what I see is it says the Reds have not announced any of the details, is what it said. Because what I'm reading, it says utility infielder Gavin Lux also agreed to $5.525 million contract, but it doesn't say terms at all. Yeah. So I don't know. It's
Gordon Whitmire put this out as far as like some of the information on this, and Joel Sherman and Robert Murray, those are the guys that are kind of putting off a lot of. Right. But again, So
what I was reading was from Sheldon on the actual Reds page. It'd be interesting to see what they do with contract terms there. It's just, I don't know. I thought there was some bats around $4.5 to $6.5, $7 million range there that I thought could have gave you some outfield help and got you some pop at the plate that would have literally, where I would have looked at it and said, that's not a bad deal to send this offense over the top and would be able to help out. I agree with you that I think the starting rotation is going to be another top 10 in baseball again. I do think it will be top tier. And obviously there's always the caveat is if everybody stays healthy. But the bullpen, I agree with the addition of what's his name?
Ferguson.
I like him. I agree with you. I like him a lot too. But I was just wanting another left-handed arm. I don't know. I'm weird that way. I like left-handed arms out of the bullpen. I like multiple of them because it gives you more than one run.
But that's the thing. I'm with you. But they had no lefty to come out of the pen last year. Ferguson is
100%.
That's
100%.
why, I'm with you. Of course I want more. I mean, they get Kyle Schwarber. I'm going to say, I want Kyle Schwarber and more. But at least they get Ferguson there. And it sounds like I'm defending him. I'm not. I just pulled up this available. So, Eugenio Suarez, I don't know why we are not pounding the table more. It's tough to go. I guess this is why, because they had to go and get that deal done with the guy that they traded for from the Pirates last year. It really strong arms them because it's tough. I'm in between on that. I love that addition. He's the best defensive third baseman in baseball, but that's one thing.
But he's only giving you half the field, though.
Well,
he's only giving you half.
I'm fine with
nothing
that.
At the plate.
I'm fine. Well, his numbers he was a way better hitter for the Reds than the Pirates last year. But my point is
True.
it's one thing where if you have the best defensive third baseman in baseball, that's not great offensively, you could hide him in a better offensive lineup. But when you don't have a good offensive lineup, that's where his problems get exposed the most. So when you have Eugenio Suarez, who's still available, who would be the instant home run leader of this team if the Reds brought him back, where do you play him? Because I don't, the Reds front office will not give up defense for Suarez. They will not give up, third base for him. So that's the frustration, is their one opportunity to actually go get an impact bat. They're not willing to relinquish defense to do it. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
A question for you. Could Stewart fill the Suarez role?
Do you know, I don't know Stewart's background as far, fill the what role?
Just fill the Suarez role at the plate. Like, meaning could, with a bigger, more put on Sal Stewart's plate because of him playing the whole season this year.
Oh yeah. That's what I said earlier. I was like, that to me, they're the Reds' biggest shot at taking a step forward without making any other changes. We have to cross our fingers and just pray that, that he becomes the power hitter that he was expected to. When they rounded out his numbers, when they averaged out his numbers over a full duration of a season based on what he contributed over the last couple of months, he's about a 40 home run guy over a full 162 game season, based on the numbers that he put up last year. You get that with 25 home runs from Ellie. Hopefully Matt McClain can bounce back and be that, 15 to 20 home run guy as well. I think that's what, that's when you start piecing some stuff. Andujar's still available. I'm looking at these available free agents right now. There's still guys available. It's just whether they're going to pull the trigger to go get some of these guys or not. And we all know how that works. But Miguel Andujar, he's only 31. Austin Hayes is only 30. Jesse Winker's 32. And I could see the Reds panicking and going the Jesse Winker route just because he was a fan favorite to make you feel all warm inside. But no. I would rather the Reds bring Austin Hayes back. When Austin Hayes was healthy, Austin Hayes is a good contributor. I like Austin Hayes, but going
into opening day, how would you feel about Friedel, Marte, Cruz, Steer, Stewart, Blade, Stevenson, McClain, Hayes as your opening day lineup?
Just because I'm a visual person and you're throwing a lot of names out, who's not in that lineup then?
Stewart wouldn't be in it.
I'd have a problem with that.
No, Stewart would be fifth. DH.
DH. Okay, I was gonna say that's why I was like
Hayes wouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
What other name am I not seeing here? Let me scroll. Fredo, Marte, Stewart. Lux wouldn't be in there.
Well, Lux, that doesn't surprise. He's a utility player, so Lux not being in doesn't bother me. That don't bother me.
Right. But. So like that. I don't know. I guess I was overlooking it. So I don't. Again, I'm still not saying that they're better, but I'm not. I'll. You changed my mind. I'll go there. If that's the lineup going out there opening day, Friedel, Marte, Cruz, your top three, Steer, Stewart, Blade, Stevenson, McClain, Hayes. If that's your starting lineup rolling into opening day, I'll say they're not worse. How about that?
That's fair. And again, I don't think we're going to give this team credit at all, even because I do think they're going to make the Reds aren't done. They're going to make another addition before spring training. They always do. That's when they added Hayes last year. It was right before. They always seem to do that. But no matter what change they make coming up, we're not going to give this team credit because they failed with Kyle Schwarber. And it's not that they failed because, oh man, he went to the highest bidder. It's that they refused to be the highest bidder when they had a chance to be. So that's what it's a tough pill to swallow. But either way, Shaw, I'm out of time. I got to bounce.
All right, go Blue.
You got it. First one of the new year. That's sad. 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kidder Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. The whole hour. Yeah, nothing but Reds talk. Reds Fest coming up a week from Friday, week from tomorrow. Holy crap, it's already this week. It went by fast, to be honest with you. But no, I have a handful of these Reds Fest 2-day passes for the 16th and 17th. If you text Reds Fest to 937-518-1410, Reds Fest is one word, by the way. Reds Fest, one word. Text it to 937-518-1410. You'll be entered to win a couple 2-day passes to Reds Fest at the Cincinnati Convention Center, January 16th and 17th. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, I'm Maria, salon owner. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
When you think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Only available with TurboTax experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast, mostly cloudy, rain, breezy at 55, and rain at 64 tomorrow, and clouds, rain, and 51 for today, Saturday. I'm Rick Shrimp, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I'm opening a second location for my coffee shop this year.
I smell trouble brewing.
I needed to print new menus, loyalty cards, window signage, so I went to Staples.
That'll cost you a latte. Get it?
Actually, I saved $100 on my print order, and everything looks amazing.
Well, grind my beans and call me impressed.
Staples made it easy.
If your business needs to print, let's go Staples.
That was easy.
Offer valid in-store and online. Ends 1/31. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
I remember brushing my hair and looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any hair left?
I used to look at women with thick, beautiful hair and think, why doesn't my hair look like that?
My thinning hair is making me feel so old.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic.
With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier-looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding thin and dull hair and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume.
Since taking Hair Volume, the shedding has all but stopped.
Now, instead of being jealous of other women's hair, I have friends who are jealous of mine.
My hairdresser couldn't believe the difference in my hair. Now she's using Hair Volume too.
Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com, or find Hair Volume in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
The Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Help Center brings the courthouse to the community with its weekly outreach programs to local churches, libraries, and community centers. We help you navigate the legal system. Find a location near you at courthouse2u.com. Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Mike Foley.
At Old English Outfitters, their brand new firearms retail space is now open. They have an all-new inventory selection, knowledgeable staff, and an on-site gunsmith. Stop by Tip City, Ohio to Old English Outfitters.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. The Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. The NCAA First Four returns to the epicenter of college hoops. The fun begins Selection Sunday, March 15th, with two family-friendly events. Join the big hoopla for the 4-miler race, then bring the family to the free STEM challenge, both conveniently located at Wright State University. It all leads to the NCAA First Four at UD Arena, March 17th and 18th. The First Four, Dayton and the Big Hoopla. Details at DaytonHoopla.com. I'm Justin Kinner, the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. You know, it's interesting. Yesterday on the show, it's way too early to be talking bracketology. Completely get that. But, Joe Lenardi put out his latest updated bracketology, and Wright State, he has the Raiders as a 14 seed going up against 3-seeded Nebraska. Now, again, I get it. Way too early to be looking at that, but it is interesting kind of following. I always like to follow, obviously, our teams, whether that be Ohio State, Wright State, Dayton. Miami of Ohio is one of the best stories in college basketball right now. I don't know if you guys have tracked that. They are 16-0. 16-0 Miami of Ohio right now. And, so much is being made about whether they should crack the top 25 or not. I think the last I saw, they came in at number 30. I know it's the top 25, but they came in at number 30. The fact that they, are, getting some votes, this, that, okay, great. The problem is here's why I get upset with some of these things is because, we all understand how this works. If anyone in the Big 10 or the Big 12 did not play anybody in their non-conference based on metrics. Like when I say play nobody, I mean, you're talking ranked at the bottom of Ken Palm, bottom of net. You're playing teams in the 160s to the 300s. And Ohio State's undefeated. You're not cracking the top 25. So here's where I get defensive of this stuff. Don't let the fact that Miami of Ohio is a great story. Don't let that, get in the way of the fact that, okay, they're not a top 25 team. They shouldn't be in the top 25. And I love mid-major basketball. If Wright State was undefeated, I would love to be talking about them potentially cracking the top 25. Okay. But we know that's not how this works. When you're a mid-major team, you're probably going to play some bigger schools, but you're probably not going to beat those. Like Miami of Ohio had at one point before they played Wright State about a couple weeks ago, if you looked at the ranking of all their opponents, Wright State was the best team that they had played, and Wright State's ranked around that 140 range right now when it comes to the net and Ken Palm. So no, I don't think Miami of Ohio. The reason I bring this up is because someone shot a note. They texted into the show. What's my thoughts on the Red Hawks and should they be in the top 25? Respectfully, I love the story. I'm all about it. Coach Steele, who I think is going to be the Bearcats' next head coach, by the way. After this season, I just think that you have to be fair here. If I was to, if you want the mid majors to be treated like one of the big boys, then you have to be treated like one of the big boys because everyone says, well, if Ohio State was undefeated, you guarantee they'd be in the top 25. Well, yeah, because if you're 16-0 at this point and you're playing Big Ten teams and Ohio State plays real teams in the non-con just as Michigan and everybody else, yeah, that's why they get ranked. It's not a bias. It's just how it works. Miami of Ohio has played nobody. Now, they just got done beating Akron. I know they played Western Michigan the other night and won. they're the best story in college basketball right now, and they're fun as hell to watch play. I mean, they're a perfect modern college basketball unit right now. They have decent size down low, but my goodness, do they have guys that could just absolutely kill you from three? They have snipers from around the 3-point line. I mean, they're deadly from three. So they're a dangerous team. And so Joe Lenardi, who put out the latest bracketology, he has Miami of Ohio as a 12 seed because they're sitting atop the MAC right now. So he's giving them kind of the auto bid. That's why Wright State's a part of the bracketology because they're sitting at the top of their conference as well. But you put Miami of Ohio in the NCAA tournament, and they're, I don't know. I mean, everyone loves the 12-5 upset. I'm picking Miami because Miami has exactly what you need. I remember a few years ago, Kev and I were doing when him and I were doing the show that year that Oakland beat Kentucky. I was like adamant that Oakland's they're going to go on a run in this tournament because they literally have everything that you need. They had a guy named Trey Townsend. They had a big guy down low that ultimately went to Arizona after that year. They had the big guy. He won Conference Player of the Year in the Horizon League that year, and they also had Golke, and they had a couple deadly 3-point shooters. They're built just like this Miami team. This Miami team is way better though. Because they have multiple Golkis on this team. But Miami's a great story. I'm pulling for them. I saw that they're going to give Ron Harper, I believe. I got to pull up the date. Ron Harper is going to be at a game coming up. They're going to give him an honorary, degree. So they're doing a good job. You have your Wally Zerbiaks that they're reaching out to, and they're getting good pub because of him. They're a good story. They're a good story. But do I think this should be in the top 25? I do not. And there's a very good possibility that Miami of Ohio could go. They could win about 25 to 28 games and still not get an at-large bid. And there's people out there that are going to say that's what's wrong with it. That's not what's wrong with it. We understand how this works. Like, here's how I know we all know that it works. If anyone that was not a Notre Dame fan all agreed Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in the playoff because the somebodies that they did play, they lost to. And then the only teams that they did beat were a bunch of nobodies. So this is how I know that we all comprehend how this works. But we all fall for the storyline of, poor Miami of Ohio. No, that's not what this is. They are a great story. But they are not a victim of anything. That's just how this works. So when we get to Selection Sunday, and that's a month, 2 months from now, I get that. We're a while away from that. But Miami of Ohio very easily could be sitting from 25 to 28 wins. Very easily could be. And all of you are going to sit there and say, they could lose in their conference tournament and be left out. Now, and that's the crazy thing. Miami of Ohio could win 25 to 28 games, lose in the conference tournament, be left out of the NCAA tournament, not get an at-large bid. Very good chance because of the screwy way that they messed with the NIT. They wouldn't even get an NIT bid. Maybe they get an invite to that Vegas tournament out there, nonetheless. But that's where I'm at. I do not think they're a great story, but I do not think that they are an NCAA tournament team as far as the at-large conversation is concerned. So there you go. Speaking of college basketball, we do have late night basketball tonight because it's Big Ten basketball on the West Coast, baby. Ohio State will be at Oregon tonight. Oregon is a 2.5-point favorite. But that's going to be a 10:30 tip-off, and 9:45 we'll have pregame coverage for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, I want to talk a little NFL to get back into that conversation as we sit here right now. So I thought we were going to kind of slow down with the Browns head coaching search just because I don't want to overdo it with the Browns, but every day there's just a new candidate that kind of pops up that, you scratch your head and wonder, would this individual make sense? And yesterday, John Harbaugh, we got to jump all over that. John Harbaugh, could he potentially be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns? And I think there's a lot of things that would have to go right for that to happen. People say, well, the Browns don't have anything that's interesting to a top coaching candidate out there. You guys may not view it this way, and I get it. But what coaches want, I still, as goofy as this sounds, everyone thinks that the Bengals would be a free agent coaching hotbed for the chance to coach Joe Burrow. But for all the reasons that you guys are pissed off at your front office right now is all the reasons why no coach is going to really want to go to Cincinnati and trust that front office. You have Joe Burrow in a front office that won't spend or try, And then you have Cleveland, who doesn't have a Joe Burrow, but they have an owner that is going to do everything in his power and slap money at it to try to fix it. And you guys could say, well, they've been a disaster. They have, because they can't get the quarterback right. But you can't say that they haven't tried to get the quarterback right. Just like the Bengals, it's not as if they haven't tried to get the defense right or tried to get the O-line right. They've just made a lot of the wrong decisions. But the bottom line is Cincinnati can't buy their way out of their issues. Cleveland almost did. If Deshaun Watson was the quarterback that he was in Houston, and I'll argue to the death on this, he was a top 5 quarterback a year and a half before he arrived in Cleveland. And I was supposed to believe that a year and a half out of the game was going to take a guy in his mid-20s, a top 5 quarterback, and all of a sudden he wasn't going to be able to play. We watched Joe Flacco come off his couch after a year out of the game and lead the Browns to the playoffs. And he was in his mid-30s at the time, upper 30s at the time. So that's just one of those things where, like, that's just typical Browns luck. Or maybe everyone's darling boy Kevin Stefanski really was the problem. Who knows? But the bottom line is I sit here right now, I'm like, I look at the Browns and I'm like, if you are Harbaugh, you're going to go there and you're going to get paid a ton of money. And you're going to have an owner and a GM that they draft really well, they develop well, and they're going to spend money when they're not under the thumb of that Deshaun Watson contract, which they have. This is the last season coming up of that contract. They'll be out of that mess, and then they'll be free to spend however they want. So that's where I'm at with that. I don't think it's as bad of a destination as what a lot of you are making it out to be, because I think there's an opportunity there. And it just, will Harbaugh end up there? I don't know. But another name that could potentially end up there, all right, is, of course, Mike McDaniel. Now, Mike McDaniel was let go. It was announced today that the Dolphins are moving on and that they fired Mike McDaniel and that, they're going in a different direction. They literally they had a press conference with Mike McDaniel over the weekend about talking about their future plans. And it appeared as if the Dolphins were moving forward with Mike McDaniel, because I remember when the offseason started, I was like, well, they're probably going to move on from Stefanski. There's 2 coaches I really like. One is Mike McDaniel. The other one is Matt LaFleur over with the Packers. Everyone said, well, no, they're both currently employed. I'm like, for now, I don't see that being, them being employed long. Now he's available. And I don't know how I feel about it. I think that the Browns really deep down are going to do everything that they can to go get John Harbaugh. But so are the Giants, so is the Raiders, so is the Dolphins now, so is everybody. Everybody but the Ravens is going to do everything in their power to go get Harbaugh. But Cleveland had an offensive-minded head coach in Kevin Stefanski and was ranked last year as the worst offense in football and bottom 5 in football the last 2 years overall. So with that defense that Jim Schwartz leads, if they could have someone go in there and just get that offense to go from worst in the league to just average, okay, it's one of those things where this team would be mightily improved. And you think about, the Ravens, moving on from Harbaugh, they're not hitting the reset button, but how good are they actually going to be moving forward without Harbaugh? One of the reasons that, Harbaugh, too, at the same time is because of the clash with Lamar Jackson. And, of course, the Ravens ultimately took Lamar Jackson's side. But it's like you got to wonder, Harbaugh, it kind of had enough of the antics of Lamar Jackson, and how much of the problem still exists in Baltimore. Maybe they got rid of the wrong guy. Who knows how that's going to, go. Cincinnati, nobody trusts that front office. Nobody believes that they're actually going to be able to turn that whole ship around. And Pittsburgh, I'm done playing the whole, Pittsburgh's done thing. They just won the division. Again, it's, whatever. I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy. I'm not a Steelers guy. It's a fun story. I'm not saying the Browns are winning the division anytime soon. They've never won the division. But the bottom line is that this division is not the hotbed that it was. This isn't 5 years ago when it was the Ravens and the Steelers, who were two Super Bowl contending teams. And then the Bengals emerged as a Super Bowl contending team. And then there was Cleveland. Now, I don't even know. These are playoff. You're lucky if these are fringe playoff. These are fringe playoff teams. The Ravens is a fringe playoff team. The Bengals a fringe playoff team. Pittsburgh had to win game 17 to make the playoffs. It's not as if the gap between the Browns and everyone in this division is that wide. It's just not. It's just not. So McDaniel to the Browns makes a lot of sense, and it also solves a lot of their issues because it addresses fixing this offense, all while keeping Jim Schwartz to keep that top 5 defense in check moving forward. So we'll see what ultimately happens at the end of the day when it's all said and done. But I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Mike McDaniel, where does he end up? Where does John Harbaugh end up? I've told you before, we'll see. I just want them to keep Jim Schwartz. They have to keep that defense rolling either way. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll step away for a few moments, talk some college football. It's crazy. Tonight, there is college football playoff action coming up later on this evening, of course. And that's what I mean. The next, 5 nights? Tonight, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, college football and NFL playoffs. Tonight, Miami and Ole Miss, 7:30 the kickoff on ESPN. It's the Fiesta Bowl. This is the game that Ohio State should have been playing in. Now, I highly doubt if Ohio State would have won. I guarantee you Ohio State would not be playing tonight as far as that goes. But Miami at Ole Miss, number 10, Hurricanes. The Rebels, number 6. And that's, of course, Miami is a 3-point favorite. The U trying to get back to the national championship for the first time in decades. Ole Miss, with all the chaos surrounding the program, is a game away from getting to the national championship. And, it's interesting, everyone talking about they can't believe that Lane Kiffin is playing the games that he is, recalling coaches, saying, okay, I'll let you coach the one, but you need to get back. I think Lane Kiffin knows Ole Miss has a good chance at winning this, and he knows how bad of a look it is that he left their sideline for record money at LSU, and it hasn't impacted them at all. Got to wonder if he's kind of worried about the perception of that in the midst of all this going on right now. But that's tonight. As far as the other college football playoff games coming up throughout this playoff, of course, Oregon and Indiana, that'll be tomorrow night, 7:30 on ESPN. And it's the Final Four. And then we'll know whether it's Indiana and Miami, Indiana and Ole Miss, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oregon, Miami. Who knows? But it's a Big Ten college football playoff semifinal matchup tomorrow night in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So there you go. We'll be right back. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. All cash offer, 614 with 7 hours.